Hey everybody, it's almost Valentine's Day, and you know what that means. That means it's time for me and my lovely date to stroll down the promenade in the park. And wait, is that a killer? And he's just killing everybody, kind of indiscriminately. And he's killed me now, and now my date is the only one left, and she's the final girl, and she has to stop the killer before he can kill her. And now, wait, it's a board game, and I'm playing as my date, and my date was actually just a little plastic miniature the whole time. Let's look at Final Girl, Series 3. Alright, so in this video, we're going to be unboxing, taking a look at all of the goodies of Final Girl Series 3, with the exception of the cast and crew box. I don't know if there's actually stuff in the cast and crew box. I didn't get it. I got everything minus that and the storage box, because I thought if there was anything in cast and crew, it was very slight, and I don't need the storage box. I have one of them, and it's cool, like it works well, but I don't know. I'm probably just going to stick these kind of where they fit, and that's going to be just fine for me. And storage box plus cast and crew, I think it added like $50 to the price, so this feels like the content, and so this is what I got. So it's not like the full all-in, but it basically is. And when we look through this stuff, I'm going to be kind of giving you the gist of all of the things. I'm not going to be showing any spoilers. We're not going to be going through like all the item cards or all the events. I want all of that stuff to be as surprising to me as it is to you. No, the other way around. As surprising to you as it is to me the first time I play it. And when I do like the reviews of these things, I want it to all be exciting and new still. But I'll like read the rules of each of them and give you kind of the pitch of how they work, how they are different from other Final Girl feature film boxes, and what makes them special and cool, and also like what they are based on. That's the idea of this video. Did you need that explanation? Maybe not. Maybe just skipped ahead to the next thing. I don't know. What are we looking at first? First up, we've got the guest stars. There's a box of the guest star miniatures, and then there's a box of all the guest star content, all the actual stuff. So in that box of stuff, the miniatures are just the miniatures. Here they are. In the box of stuff, we have a few proxy events and items, so you can like make your own events and items and put them in the game if you would like to do that. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but it's a good option to have. There's also all of the secret items that you can use for all of these guest star Final Girls once you have won a game with them. They have like their unique items, which is always very, very fun. We have the actual cards, like the Final Girl cards for all of these guest stars. There's also a signature action, which is like a unique action card that you can add into the game optionally when playing with, I think you can do it when playing with any Final Girl, but you could do it with these as well. Signature action. Then there is a little deck of vehicle action cards, but only for when you're playing the Terror from the Grave vignette expansion in the Season 3 locations. So that's cool. There's like actions for if you're in the whatever location has the bulldozer. There's like push all the zombies to an adjacent space. So, I mean, cool to have, but very specific. You gotta have the vignette expansion, you gotta be playing with one of these, and then you have to like care to add it in. But if you do, you can. They're here. And then finally, there are two little character packs for two of these guest stars. So the first one is Carolyn's Revenge, and Carolyn, if you'll remember from the Creech Manor Final Girl feature film box, she was the little girl who you can find when exploring Creech Manor, and she is now a teenager, and guess what? She's a freaking psychic, and there's an alternate win condition with Carolyn. She can like attune to certain items, and then she can deal psychic damage to the killer, which is the alternate win condition, instead of dealing physical damage like punching the killer in the face, which she is also allowed to do. She can build up psychic damage, and then when it reaches that threshold, send them into limbo, expel them into limbo. So if you've ever wanted to, instead of punching Inkanyamba in the face until he dies, if you want to punch him in the brain until he dies with psychic abilities, Carolyn is your option, which is a really fun, weird, different way to play. I'm excited to give that a try. And then finally, we've got the Grandma's Grudge, and this is fully just a grandmother. The lore-wise, she is Little Red Riding Hood's grandma, so I guess from that Big Bad Wolf feature film box, she's Red's grandma. She has 1 health. That is the maximum health that she can have. You remove the short and long rest cards from the game because she cannot gain any more health. That means that she is always rolling that extra adrenaline die that you get to roll when you're on your last health. She always gets that, which is cool, but if she gets hit 1 time, she dies. You can use like the damage blocking reaction cards for either attack damage or for that little symbol where it's like the heart with the slash through it, which just means like you lose a heart. It's unblockable usually. She can block those attempts too, which is cool. And then you remove as well the walk and sprint action cards from the game and instead add a slow walk and a steady walk. The most she can ever move with a single action card is 1 space because she's a grandma. She's old and she's somewhat frail. The benefit to her is that she starts with 1, 2, or 3 special item cards special to her that you can choose how many of those you start with to set the difficulty level for playing as Granny. And if any victims panic at any point, instead of rolling a die, they just move in whatever direction Granny is in because she's a comforting presence and they want to be close to her. That is what we've got going in these guest star boxes. Really pumped to get these played. Like most of the time when I do the like reviews, I play just with the final girls who are included in that feature film box, and that's like for the reviews. Then when I'm playing on my own, I like mix and match things. But I'm so pumped to add in these final girls that aren't just like, I don't know how much it matters to play like the Ripley character in the haunted storybook woods place. Like it's kind of cool, but they're not so like specific and thematic. These seem super specific and thematic, which is a fun twist to it. Because like, I don't know, for me, the killer and the location is usually where like the theme really shines through, and to have actual like final girls who are so over the top thematic just adds another layer that is great, and I'm really pumped to try out. All right, here we have the Series 3 vignette box. Series 1's vignette box was Terror from Above, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. The antagonist is the Birds. Series 2, it was Terror from the Grave. George Romero, sort of like Night of the Living Dead zombies are the antagonists of this one. And this final one, Series 3, Terror from Destiny. This is like Final Destination kind of deal. Someone has a premonition, saves a whole bunch of people from dying, and then fate is like, wait, those people were supposed to die. And then fate tries to track them down and kill them, and you have to stop destiny itself from enacting its ugly work. And that's kind of the pitch of this. The way that all of these, I knocked it over. The way that all of these vignette boxes work is that you choose any location from any feature film box and set it up in there. It works in any location. There's no killer associated. The antagonist is whatever the vignette is. So in this case, like the antagonist is kind of like the force of destiny. And then there are specific scenario rules for the vignette. In this case, you are the person who had that initial premonition that saved everybody. And now fate is coming after these people again, and they are relying on you and your connection with the beyond to save them, but to save them in the right order. So at the start of the game, you kind of shuffle up all the tokens for these potential victims, and these are like sort of classic tropey characters, the cheerleader, the jock, the bookworm, etc. You get it. And you shuffle up these tokens, and they're all face down, so you don't know what order they're in and you put them out on one of these 3 cards, which shows the order that they were supposed to die in. And then, without knowing what that order is, you have to save them in the right order. And you do this by using an action card that lets you have premonitions and reveal the right order. Also lets you reveal the consequences for saving them in the wrong order or for allowing them to die. And at the end of the game, whoever you have saved in the right order, you don't have to like process their consequences, the consequences of fate. But if you haven't saved someone, or if you saved them in the wrong order, then you flip over a card and it says, hey, you have to discard 3 items. And you go, oh no, I only have 2 items. You flip over the card that's underneath and it says, you don't have 2 items, you gotta lose 4 health. And if you can't fulfill those consequence objectives at the end of the game, you die and you lose the whole game. So you got to save the people in the right order. Kind of a fun, like, sort of weird. It's kind of a weird scenario. Like, it's not like many other Final Girl things. That's the fun of all these vignettes, is that they can like play with the mechanisms and do different stuff. Pumped to try this one out. Love that you can do it in like any, I mean, you can do any of the things in any location. That's the whole Final Girl thing. But I love that vibe of, you're like, let's go to the Storybook Woods and see how these people should have died when they were on the plane a week ago, whatever. Really cool. Terror from Destiny. Bonus features. The purple box. And this one, it might not look it because it's, thinner. It's dense. That's a thud right there. That's what I call a thud. First of all, in this box, we've got epic finales for every one of the killers. If you want a little bit of an epic ending, here they are. Then, this is, aside from actually buying the things that let you play Final Girl, this is the most important thing that you can buy, I think. This is the funnest thing in any Final Girl thing. This is the lore and scenario book for this series. So all 5 of the feature films have, at the start of all of these, there is a page or 2 of lore. So kind of the information about the location, about the killer, about the Final Girls, their connection. I love all that stuff. It's great to like read before you play a scenario, just to get you in the theme, get you in the mood a little bit. And then if that wasn't valuable enough, there are specific scenarios for all of the possible combinations for this series. So if you play as, or you play in the shopping mall, for example, with the Marrek Murderer, there is a scenario that they write out that kind of gives you a sense of like why that might happen. So it's not just you throwing 2 things together and being like, sure, that sounds kind of cool. It tells you like, here's the story reason for why that murderer is in that mall. And it tells you like a Final Girl to play as. It might tell you to change the like item deck slightly, or the specific setup version. It's great. It just makes it a little bit more thematic, a little bit more story-based, which is my favorite part of this. Like, I personally, in the 3 rules that say like how you decide to break ties, I always choose whatever the most thematic thing is, because that feels right for this game. Then you've also got a feature film rulebook for Series 3, which is just a collection of all of the rulebooks for all of the different boxes this series, which is, I don't know how often I will be referring to this as opposed to just like the rule books that are found in the boxes, but it's nice to have them all in one place if you don't want to have all those little sheets like floating around in the boxes. Because, yeah, I mean, they're a little annoying, but this is a rule book version if you want it. Just a little convenience. And then finally, there are 5 of these gruesome deaths books, which I don't know if this is new to Series 3, because in Series 1 and 2, I didn't actually buy them through the Kickstarter. I got them like secondhand from other people. But I don't know what these are. These were new to me, and looking through them, it seems like kind of similar to the lore and scenario book. It is a thematic way to look at the deaths when like a killer kills a victim. You can pop this thing open, roll some dice, and get a random death narration to see like how the killer killed that particular victim. Like for the the hunter in the Marrek warehouse, if you roll a 1 or a 2 on a general death with the Mark V robot, with deliberate speed and precision, the Mark V lifted the handgun and fired a single bullet into the man's head. To a human, this would look simply like good aim, but you knew it was more than that. And then there's a little bit more. And this is like every single killer has all of these different narration bits, and I kind of like the rule book. I don't know how often I'm going to be breaking these out, but it's a nice thing to have, and maybe it would be fun if like we did a playthrough on the channel. Maybe we would have this and then have like that kind of like, you know exactly how that, usually it's just a little yellow meeple and you just pick it up and put it away. Not with this. You can learn what horrible thing befell that yellow meeple, as opposed to just going, it did enough damage to the meeple and the meeple is now dead. That is what is in the bonus features box. Okay, first actual feature film box here. This is Final Girl, The Killer from Tomorrow, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. This is very much a Terminator kind of spoof, kind of a reference. The initial, oh, you heard me, that you heard it right. You heard it here first, folks. The initial killer is the Mark V, which is very much based on the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, the first Terminator movie. But what I was very interested to learn when I was reading the little rules is that it's not just Terminator 1. It's actually maybe more so Terminator Judgment Day, because as you are dealing damage to this Terminator, to the Mark V, to the Hunter, let me get it right, pieces are falling off of him. And when enough pieces have fallen off, he stops functioning, and you can then repair him and make him an ally to you, to aid you in your fight against the Mark X. And so that's kind of the killer side of things, is that there's an initial Terminator-style robot coming after you. When you've damaged him enough, he can become an ally to you and fight against an updated version of the killer, which is, that's really great. The mall component, because this is the Hunter in the Sunny Days Mall, the mall component introduces an ally to you, who is a John Connor kind of like parallel. So it's a teenage kid who you have to win the trust of. This is a teenage kid who is the savior of the world, and if he dies, then you lose the game. That is one of the potential loss conditions. If you die, you also lose the game. But here's the deal. The killers will target John Connor before they target you. So you are doing everything in your power to keep John Connor alive. It's not John Connor. I don't remember what it's like. I don't know. Something about Survivor Boy. What's his name? The Savior. He's just called the Savior. You're trying to keep the Savior alive. If the Savior dies, then you lose. But that's this one. Very much a Terminator and Terminator 2 like love letter, and yeah, it's really fun. I love those movies, so I am super pumped to get this one played. It's time to play a fiendish game. Can you escape from the death traps laid out all around the Marrek warehouse, and can you survive the Marrek Murders? This is a Final Girl feature film box based on the hit 50 movie series Saw, and the killer, not Jigsaw, no, this is the Tormentor, and she has laid all kinds of death traps out in the Marrek warehouse, and these are death traps that you might recognize if you've seen any of the Saw movies. There's a razor maze, there's just like a buzzsaw trap, there's also the very classic reverse bear trap, and all of these traps, they'll spring up all around the board, either trapping victims or you, the final girl, and they will all have different success conditions to get out of them. Like, for example, this razor maze here. First, you have to move carefully, then keep moving, and finally exit the maze. So the first step is to move one space, to play a card and get successes that allows you to move one space, and then play one that lets you move two, and finally play one that lets you move one. I should have picked one that had a little bit more exciting of a thing here. Yeah, sure, the swinging blades. First, time the blades. It costs 5 time. Then, cut the ropes, which is 2 damage. And finally, dive to safety, move 2 spaces. And if you do all of those things in the right order, then either the victim who is in the trap or you, if you were in the trap, escapes it, and you avoid the worst of the results. Whenever you see a certain symbol, the trap will kind of progress, and that will result in a variety of bad things happening. Maybe you'll lose health, maybe you'll lose time, maybe the horror level will increase, and if it gets all the way to the end, then whoever is in that trap, whether it's a victim or a final girl, will die. Crazy thing about this feature film box is that up until the finale, the killer is not on the board, just not present at all, which is very thematic. You don't see Jigsaw until the very end. Like he's not interacting. He's not like in the room with anybody being like, hey, so you got to do the trap like this. You know, it's all the CCTV, whatever kind of deal. So that's the same thing here. She is kind of working from the shadows, setting these traps, and maybe she's even like set them all before you even got there. And why is she doing all of this? And then the warehouse, the Marrek warehouse location, the tricky little things here are that all of the exit spaces that you would need to send victims out through, they're all locked at the start of the game, and you have to find items, figure out ways to unlock those exits so that you can get people out. That is one of the tricky things. And then also there are all of like the storage racks that you would see in a warehouse. And so there are the levels of the warehouse that are on the ground level, and then there are the higher tops of all of these shelves that you have to play unique action cards to this scenario to allow you to climb up to the top and then leap from shelf to shelf as like kind of an alternate path around the location. That's what we've got going on here. I don't love the Saw movies, but I like not dying in death traps, so maybe this one will be fun for me. I don't know. I'm not super familiar. I've only seen the first one, and I think it's fine. But I know for a fact that if I were in razor wire, I would want to be out of the razor wire. So I can really put myself in that scenario pretty convincingly, I think. So that's this one. All right, if anybody saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, you already know this killer from the Hell to Pay feature film box. This is Taserface. Razorface. It's Razor. That's a different guy. It's just a fully different guy. This is Hell to Pay, a Hellraiser parody. I don't know if parody is the right, like reference. It's referencing Hellraiser. So Razorface is like a pinhead kind of parallel, and then you're in hell. You're in the hellscape. In this feature film box is the location. So you got Razorface, you got the hellscape. How do these things work? Razorface, actually, he just died. He's gone. Razorface is pretty simple. Of the killers that we've looked at so far, all Razorface does is at the start of the game, you will be afflicted with a few random afflictions, perhaps the gift of pain, perhaps one called torturous embrace, or even a waste of good suffering. There is a requirement to purge all of these afflictions. There may be tarot cards or abilities that Razorface has that will give you new afflictions. I don't know. But there is an ability listed on them, like, for example, the Gift of Pain. In order to purge the Gift of Pain, you have to deal at least 3 damage to Razorface in one single action phase. That is how you get rid of the Gift of Pain. And the only way to kill Razorface, you can get him all the way down to his last health, and you can deal damage after damage after damage. Damage does nothing if he's on his last health if there are any afflictions in play. You have to purge all of the afflictions that are afflicting you in order to be able to deal that final bit of damage to Razorface. Only when you are unafflicted can you kill the Lord of Hell. And then what about the Hellscape itself? Well, Razorface is a little bit simple. The Hellscape is freaking nuts. I feel like the location is really what is getting me pumped about this one in particular. The Hellscape is, like, if you look at it, you got these kind of normal spaces that are printed on the board, as you've come to expect, and then you have these 4 tiles that at the start of the game you will shuffle up and put out on the board randomly. And then that will be, for a little while, how the hellscape looks. And these tiles have different connections to them. There may be moments where tiles are partially, or I think it's possible to have them even completely. No, it's probably not possible. Maybe it is. I don't know. But they can be partially cut off from the rest of the board, inaccessible going through some of the routes. And there is a unique action card to this box, to this location, that lets you hell shift, lets you rearrange the tiles. If you get 2 successes, you can rearrange them as you please completely. And if you get 1 success, you can just swap 2 of them. Additionally, there's unique dice for this location. Every single upkeep phase, you will roll these dice. If you roll 2 different symbols, you will swap the tiles shown, and if you roll the same symbol, you will flip the tile shown to its other side. And so, even though there are ways for you to manipulate and for you to choose how the hellscape will look so that you can get around as you want, there are also ways that the hellscape says, yeah, you did what you wanted to, but I'm the hellscape. I'm just going to do what I want, baby. And that, to me, seems really fun and weird. I don't think we've had any, definitely no locations that change this much throughout the course of the game, which is, it feels like it'll be a really tricky, interesting puzzle to solve. So really pumped to try out the hellscape. Also interested in Razorface and his afflictions, but the hellscape is what's got me going for this one. Okay, so this next Final Girl feature film box, I'm gonna review it like an ASMR video. No, I'm not. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not doing that the whole time. This is Final Girl Don't Make a Sound, which you might recognize as A Quiet Place. But there's also sandworms here. So that's new. First, let's talk about the killer, which is the eyeless. It's the Quiet Place guy. It's a Quiet Place guy. But it's just one of them. In that movie, there were a couple. There's just one. So we can do this. I think we can do this pretty easily. Here's the deal with the Quiet Place guy. The eyeless. Do they have a name in the Quiet Place? They're called like the little crab guys. I don't know what their name is. I only saw the first one like when it came out. That was a million years ago. Here's the deal with these guys. Noise. Every single action card that you play during the action phase, every action card that you resolve, so if you discard them to like spend on time or to do something else, that's fine. That doesn't count. If you use an action card, whether you succeed or you fail, you will increase the noise marker accordingly. 1 action card, 1 noise. Additionally, every item that you use, depending on what kind of item it is, if it makes noise, you will increase the noise as well. So the way that works is if you are using, like, let's say a gun, if you're shooting a gun, that's 3 noise, because that is an item that could be heard from other spaces. If you're using an item that could only be heard by like the people around you, like a melee item, like you're hitting something with a baseball bat, that is 1 noise. And then if you're using an item that wouldn't have any significant noise, like using a med kit or opening up a map, that is no noise. So it's very thematically based. It's up to you to determine what the level of noise is for the items that you acquire, and then there are these little noise cards to like slot in underneath your items just to remind you like what you decided, how much noise to use, how much noise to add when you use that item. And then the monster, the eyeless, will target you based on some of the tarot cards if the noise level has reached a certain threshold. So there might be a card that says like Final Girl 3, and that means that it'll target the Final Girl if the noise level is 3 and if the eyeless can get to you from where it currently is. And that's basically all that there is on the killer front. Make noise makes it more likely for this guy to specifically target you, come after you, eat your face. That's what's going on there. What about Utopia, which is the location that we are in? I haven't seen Tremors, but I believe that it is a Tremors reference. There are sandworms that come out of the ground below you. There's a deck of sand snake cards, and these sand snake cards list a specific space or they'll say like your space, and the sand snake will pop out of the ground in that space and will deal a damage to whatever is there. Deal a single damage. If there's 3 things there, it deals it in like a priority order. It will first attempt to deal damage to a victim, then it will attempt to deal damage to you, then to a minion, and finally to the killer. So that does mean if a killer is alone in a space and a sand snake pops up there, that is damage to the killer. I don't know, maybe there's like items or something that lets you look at the sand snake's deck so you can predict where they're gonna pop out. I don't know if that's the case, but maybe that's a thing that you can do. There are also spaces on the map with this red boulder symbol, which means that the ground there is too hard. The sand snakes won't pop out there, so you are safe from sand snake attacks when in the boulder spaces. And then finally there's sinkholes, which will sink, and scary, bad, not a good time. Before I like opened the box and read the rules, I fully assumed that this was like just a Quiet Place kind of reference. Was not expecting there to be a sand snake situation thrown in. I don't like it. The sand snakes they affect the game slightly. They pop up to deal a single damage. They're not like gonna completely throw the game off, but I don't know, they're like huge sand snakes. Like, look at how big this thing is compared to me as a person. There's a lot underneath the ground. It feels like, I don't know, they could deal more damage, honestly. I'm not saying that I want the game to be harder, but I don't know. It seems a little strange to me that you're taking this, like, sand snakes are a big concept. They're in a lot of things. They're in Beetlejuice, they're in Dune, they're in Tremors, they're all over the place. And they're relegated to, like, just a location? We could have gotten a whole feature film box for sand snakes. I don't know. It's a weird combination to me. Was not expecting the sand snakes. Like, I opened up the box of miniatures to figure out which miniatures went with this one. I was like, I still have sand snakes left. Where the hell do they go? In this one, apparently. I don't know. We'll see if it works. It feels a little thematically disparate from the outside looking in. But we'll see. We'll see. Is it me? Or did things just get a little stranger? Oh, comedy. That's right. This is the final Girl feature film box for Series 3, The Falconwood Files. And you bet your sweet bippy it's based on Stranger Things. But if you're like me and you're worried that hearing Stranger Things might mean that you have to see Noah Schnapp's face, no worries. This is a Schnapp-free zone. Let's talk about this feature film box. First, let's talk about Falconwood, the location. I don't know why. I did the killer first on all the other ones. Well, we're doing it. I already said it. I want to talk about it first because this is a D20 that is not mine. I mean, it is now. I bought this. But it's included with this game because there are cards and effects that require you to roll a D20. How fun is that? I love it. Additionally, as if it wasn't fun enough just to throw a D20 into Final Girl, there are 5 missions that you have to complete before you can deal the final bit of damage to the killer. These are missions like Save Your Father, Missing Friend, Survive the Hunt, Expose the Lab, and Crack the Code. And like a little pitch of Crack the Code, spies are in Falconwood and communicating in code. Crack the code to foil their plan. I mean, what is more like 80s slightly horror-y adventure movie than there's a mission that you have to do that's like not really connected with the monster that you're trying to fight. Like there's like a loose kind of connection, but it's just like fun stuff thrown in, and a D20 also. It's, oh my gosh, I love it. I haven't played it. Maybe it sucks. What do I know? But as a pitch, oh, I am in. And then the killer, the Slayer, classic sort of Stranger Things situation. There's an R dimension, there's a mirror dimension, you know, upside down type beat. And the Slayer exists only in the mirror dimension unless otherwise specified. And he will be attacking victims in that mirror dimension. Victims can get pulled from our dimension to theirs, and the yellow meeple will be replaced with a gray one. You can save victims by going into the mirror dimension and pulling them out by opening a rift, because, you know, when all this stuff started, you gained powers that let you open a rift, obviously. It's clear. You knew that before I even said it. So you can go in there and get the victims out, take them to safety in our dimension, or you can go there and you can beat up the Slayer. But remember, that final health that the Slayers got can only be taken out if you've already completed your Falconwood mission. Completing the Falconwood mission, I forgot to say this, also gives you an ally, a helper meeple, like with a little orange meeple will be coming around with you, and they can go with you into the mirror dimension, and they'll like give you an extra die or let you do something good, and if they die, it's bad. That is what we've got going for you. All of Final Girl Series 3, for the most part, with not the box of the cast and crew, but that's not real. This is all the real stuff. That's the end of the video. I'm done talking to you now because it's over. What did I think about all this stuff? Well, I have to say, it's kind of recency bias. This one's really interesting to me. The location specifically, I like the killer that's a cool idea, going to the mirror dimension. It feels like similar, but maybe a little bit less fiddly than the Dr. Fright kind of thing, where you had to go into the dream dimension to fight him. So maybe this will be like that. I really liked that one, but the location here with the D20 and cracking codes and saving people, that's great. Like I said earlier, the eyeless coupled with the sandworms is weird to me. We'll see how that feels when you actually play it. And then other than that, I think the Terminator one is probably the box that I'm overall the most excited by, just because that is the theme, the movies that I like the most of all of these boxes, and I tend to enjoy most the ones that I most intimately get the references to. If you've watched this whole video up to this point, which of the feature films are you most excited about? Did you get Series 3? Did you skip earlier series and you're like, no, Series 3 has all this stuff for me? Did you get like just bits and pieces? What did you do for Final Girl Series 3? And to tell me everything about this game, because I love it so much. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.